Today I want to do a quick year in review as a full-time entrepreneur that supports my family of 5 on my online income. This year was definitely challenging, but surprisingly, I don't feel that stressed out about it. There are certain things I'm stressed about, but I did not feel overworked or burned out this year as much as I have in the past, and that's with 3 kids and traveling full-time for half of the year. So I think that's pretty good. But there are some downsides, so let's talk about it. So I just want to share my year as an overview real quick. The first 7 months or so, we were traveling full-time in our RV. We went from California to Florida to Cape Cod, Massachusetts to Oregon, and then back down to California in that 7 months. The original plan was to go check out like Virginia and North Carolina to see if that's an area that we would want to live in. And then plans kind of changed. My family members that were going to possibly move out there changed their minds and said they were okay with Oregon. So now we're looking at Oregon again, which is where our hearts are anyway. So I guess it worked out, but we went on this like crazy cross country and back road trip in 6 months, which was a lot, but also who gets to do that? So I feel super lucky that we got to do that. We had so much fun. There were so many highlights on that trip. We spent over a month at a goat farm in Florida, work camping. My husband would work and we stayed there for free, and my kids were like living on a farm and living their literal best lives. So it was everything. We got to visit my aunt in Cape Cod, and I got to do all of this while supporting my family online. Now, I will say, when I say I'm supporting my family online and I'm the only person working, a lot of people think that we make a ton of money, and we really don't. We are really smart with our money. We are very cautious with our money, and I personally am obsessed with having like a lot of padding so that if something were to go wrong, because I'm the only person working and I don't have like a steady paycheck, we're usually covered. So during that 7 months or so, I was working probably about 20 hours a week or so, maybe a little bit less if we were traveling a lot. Sometimes we were traveling like every couple of days, and on those days I obviously couldn't do much because we were on the road. Packing up, driving, and then unpacking is like the longest process ever when you have a 42-foot fifth wheel, 3 kids, 2 cats, and a dog. And then in July, we decided to park the RV in storage and come down to California and spend time with family through the end of the year. We have been staying with my in-laws, and it has been great. The kids have been able to hang out with grandma and their cousins, and they've had a lot of fun doing that as well. And it's been a nice break for me because I've been able to really just like focus on working. Because what I'm going to talk about next is our income has been down, like really, really bad down. I would say estimating probably about 40% from last year. So now let's move into talking about our income. I'm not going to give exact numbers because honestly, as someone who talks about income or making money from home online, it's a little bit embarrassing to say how far down our income is. So I'm trying to save myself from being too embarrassed by talking about how much I made. But we were able to support ourselves. We had to pull a little bit from savings. It's not a big deal. We are able to live this lifestyle, and we are so lucky. So why is my income down? Last year I had a baby. So the first 6 months of last year I was pregnant, and the last 6 months of last year I had a baby. And while you would think that my income from last year would be bad because of that, it's actually a pretty delayed reaction with my business because I'm putting out content that is taking a while to grow and gain views and all of that. And then when I stop creating content, that kind of carries for a while and then it tapers off. So this year is the impact of being pregnant. I'm a terrible pregnant person. It's terrible for me. I feel awful the whole time. And having a newborn. And then also we went and traveled, so we weren't able to work a ton. So this is the impact of that. It's kind of a delayed reaction. So while I actually felt really good all year, I felt like I wasn't working too much, I wasn't super burnt out or stressed out, my income was down. So I was stressed out about that, but I also know that we're scrappy and we can figure things out, and I wasn't too worried about it. I'm still not too worried about it, although it hasn't bumped back up to where I need it to be yet. I know that 2024 is going to be amazing because I'm putting in the work now to make sure that it grows in 2024. So that's entrepreneurship for you. So a few changes that I made in my business. I had been using eBliss, which was my fulfillment company for reselling. So I would list my inventory and then send it to them, and they would store it and ship it for me for obviously a fee. And I was using them for almost 2 years, I want to say. Then I decided to stop using them because I didn't have a lot of time on the road to resell. I wasn't able to source. We didn't have a lot of room. Taking pictures was hard because we were all cramped in one This wasn't a small RV, it's 42 feet, but it's still a small space for 5 people. So I went ahead and asked them to send me everything that they had. I clearanced a bunch of it out. I actually did a video saying I was stopping reselling. Then I did start reselling again after that, but in a way where I was able to store my own items and keep a low amount of inventory and just move it quickly so that I didn't have to have a lot of storage. All right, now let's look at my streams of income kind of individually and how they've been doing. So I really just talk about reselling on here, but I do have other streams of income. My main consistent, amazingly steady stream of income is my Pinterest management clients. These are businesses or blogs that I run their Pinterest accounts for them, and I get traffic over to them so that they can either make money off of ads on their blog or digital products, or they can sell physical products. I make about half my income on a bad month, or maybe like 30% of my income on a good month from Pinterest management clients. That is money that is coming from 5 or 6 different clients that is coming in regularly, and I can rely on that income. And it is not something I'm passionate about, and I don't want to do it forever, but I am thankful because that's kind of like my day job. That's the income that I know is coming no matter what. So if YouTube tanks, I don't sell any digital products, my reselling business isn't great, I can rely on this income to kind of hold us over. And then there's my blog and my YouTube, which are both the Hustle and Slow brand, which I make money from like affiliate sales, my own digital products, YouTube revenue, and that is down, like way down, so bad. And that is because when I was pregnant and I had a baby and then we were traveling, I wasn't able to put out as much consistent content. And it just wasn't something that I was able to prioritize because I was spending most of my little time that I had on those Pinterest management clients. So that income is down, and that is a lot of why my income is down so far this year, because previously I was doing really well with that. And then there's reselling, which you've seen the ups and downs of that. But when I started again, my focus was on really good inventory, not only inventory that could make me a good profit, but inventory that could sell quickly. So I've kind of tweaked my strategy a little bit, and I will talk about that a little bit more in another video that I'm going to upload. And that video is going to be about how if I started over in 2024, what would I do differently? So look for that video. Another big hit for us, which is a stream of income, but I always forget about it, is our rental home. We bought a home in 2017, I believe, as a rental. We initially bought it for my sister and her husband to rent while they figured out what they wanted to do, and they weren't ready to buy yet. So we bought a house because we were looking at a rental anyway, and they rented it from us. And since then we've had 2 renters in it. One we self-managed, and they were great, but then we moved out, and then we moved to Oregon, and we couldn't self-manage because we were too far away. So we hired a management company, and then since then we've had another family in there. With that income stream, we don't actually pay ourselves anything, although we did take a little bit of money out recently, and I will explain that to you shortly. So what we do is we have a separate account for that rental property, and all of the money goes into that from the rent, and then our mortgage comes out of that. So it just slowly is building up. I think our cash flow is about $300 or $400 a month, depending on if there are any little repairs or anything. So that just builds up every month. And then if there are repairs, we can take money out of that so that it doesn't impact us personally. However, in November, there was a leak in the roof, and we got 3 different roofing companies out there, and every single one of them said we needed to replace it and it could not be repaired. This is a 1,000 square foot house, and we ended up paying $18,000 to get our roof replaced. And that was the best quote out of all of them. So hopefully that is not something we have to do again anytime soon. However, we didn't have $18,000 in that account, so we had to take out of our personal savings that we had for our next home. So that was a huge hit to us on top of not making very much money. And then 2 weeks after we replaced the roof, the tenants have let us know that they are moving out. So now we have to find new tenants to go in there, but luckily the market has changed and rental prices have gone up, so we are able to bump our rental price from $1,800 to $2,200 a month. So that will give us more cash flow if we're able to get somebody in at that price. So I always talk about that. I'm not like a real estate guru or anything like that, so I don't talk about it much, but we do have a rental property. This is our second one. The first one we sold because we were just having a lot of trouble with it and it was just easier to sell it. And that happened a couple years ago. So I think that's all I have to say about, as far as my different income streams. I can't think of if there are any others. I think I've covered them all. So even though I'm not going to tell you or show you my exact numbers for the entire year for all my income streams because it's killing me and I can't do it. I will show you my reselling numbers, and luckily Vendoo makes this super easy because I list all my items in Vendoo. I use it for cross-posting, all of that, but I also, when I list things as sold and how much it sold for and all the fees, Vendoo does have a really good analytics feature, and I can look at the whole year and let you know how much I've made. So today's actually December 15th, so the year is not totally complete, but we're pretty close. These numbers are accurate enough. So if you look at the first couple of months, you'll see that the graph is like a little bit of a mountain because that's when eBliss was still shipping for me. And these were items that were old because I did not source at all like January through July. So these are all items that I had listed previously and sent to eBliss previously. And those are just the items that sold. And then you'll see a dip in June and July. That is when I asked them to just send me everything that I had so that I could go through it, sell what I could sell, and donate everything else. And then in September, you'll see it starts to spike again, and that's when I start reselling again on my own without a fulfillment company. And so my totals for the year, my total revenue is $10,164, and my profit was about $4,795. So a little bit less than 50% profit. That's after fees, that's after shipping, that's after cost of goods, that's after everything. So that's about 50% profit. That does not take into account taxes, however. So I will have to pay taxes on that income that I made. In this year, I sold 295 items. I only listed 246 items, but you do have to take into account the stuff from last year that kind of rolled over, but that's a pretty decent sell-through rate. And my average sale price was $34.46, which is great. I like my average sale price to be over $30, so that looks really good to me. Now here's where things would get really interesting. I have always said that I sell the most on eBay. eBay is like my main marketplace, and then I list on Posh also, and I've recently added in Mercari. But look at what Vendoo is showing me. I made 47% of my revenue with Poshmark, and I made 42% with eBay. So Poshmark this year has outdone eBay, which is just shocking to me because it used to be like eBay was 80 or maybe 70% of my revenue, and I am shocked. So I guess I'm a Poshmark girly now, and that is amazing. So when it comes to profit, Poshmark was 41% of my profit, and eBay was also 41% of my profit. So that's telling me that maybe eBay is giving me more profit per item. You'll also see that I did a lot of in-person sales. When we got that pallet, we purposely purchased a pallet that had a lot of stuff that was bigger that we could sell locally. So I've done about $800 or almost $900 in in-person sales. And honestly, my husband did not give me the numbers for November. So this is probably closer to 1,000, and it will probably be closer to 1,000 by the end of the year. So in-person sales made up almost 9% of my total revenue. However, when it comes to in-person sales, there are no fees. So it actually made up over 15% of my profit, which is really cool. So this is something I want to continue when we move to Oregon in about a month. I want to do a lot more in-person sales. This is something that my husband can do. He's a stay-at-home dad. Anything big, I give to him. He lists it on Facebook Marketplace, and he takes care of it and then just gives me the numbers so that I can enter them into Vendoo. So I do plan on continuing with in-person sales, and he's going to kind of do his own thing when we get to Oregon too. I can also share about his side hustles once he gets those started. But right now, in-person sales is what his kind of like side project is. And then in, I think October, maybe end of October, I'm not sure, I started listing on Mercari again, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with it. I'm not doing a lot. Obviously, I only started it the last couple of months of the year, and I haven't even cross-posted everything that I have. So Mercari was like 1% of my sales. So it wasn't a big thing, but I'm interested to see how it does next year and if Mercari takes a bigger chunk as well. And then as far as number of items sold per marketplace, I sold more items on Poshmark. On Poshmark, I sold 146 items, and on eBay, I sold 123 items. On Mercari, I sold a total of 6 items. And then locally, we sold about 20 items. But like I said, I don't have the numbers for November, and we sold quite a few things. So I'd say that's closer to maybe like 30 or 40. So that's just more in depth on my reselling business. Since I talk mostly about reselling here, I don't mind sharing those numbers with you. Reselling is very much a side hustle, but I do plan on going a lot harder on reselling in 2024 and sharing all of that with you as well. So hopefully you are ready for that because I'm super ready for that. So that is a look at my year in review. Hopefully this has been kind of helpful for you. I don't know if it's inspiring with my income being down, but I know that I'm supporting my family. Even though our income's down, we're doing just fine. And we are able to be home with our kids. And that is really what it's all about, being able to spend time with family. And that is why I do this, so that my husband can be home, so that I can be available, and we are able to just enjoy our lives. Going into 2024, I am changing things quite a bit, but I feel like I do that every year, and I have really like specific plans, and I have it all planned out already, but I'm not going to share in this video because it would just be way too long. I bet you're going to see a big difference in how I'm doing things in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video, and I will see you next time.